Welcome. We are joined today by Jill Renslow, who is the Senior Vice President or Executive Vice President of Business Development at the Mall of America. And she also is in charge of marketing at the Mall of America. And if you want to know about how retail, bricks and mortar, has been affected by the pandemic, this is the interview that you want to listen to, because nobody should know more about it than Jill does. Also joining me today, as always, is my colleague Raghu Iyengar, who is also a marketing professor here at the Wharton School. He also is the director of the Wharton Customer Analytics. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm going to begin, Jill, by asking you just to give our audience an understanding of a little bit of your background and how long you've been in your current position.
Sure. Thanks, gentlemen. Pleasure to be here with you today and excited to talk about Mall of America. Love to always share our story. I've actually been at the mall for over 23 years now. Wow. I started as an intern with our organization and truly have grown up here. I'm always on the marketing side of the organization, and truly, my passion is about our brand and making sure that we represent ourselves well with our customers and our communities and across the industry. And always leading with innovative ideas and not being shy to change and try new things. And this year has definitely put that test to a challenge and has really launched us in new areas, but have really grown with this organization to appreciate, the collaboration and partnerships that we've had with all of our stakeholders, and knowing that, trying new things is part of success, and in taking risks to see what's possible. And that's what I love about the mall, is we have a family ownership group, allows us a lot of agility and flexibility to try new things, and to also, look towards what's, anything is possible, and it can be outside the retail sector, and being motivated through those industries that we can be inspired by, and to try things here. As you know, we have a lot of mixed uses between retail, entertainment, dining, and hospitality. And so it's also very rewarding to be able to see our results every day, to be able to walk into our space and interact with customers, and to be able to see the emotion that we invoke on what we deliver with our fans that come to Mall of America. And
wow, 23 years at Mall of America, you must have began as a mall rat and have made your way all the way up. As you said, it's amazing what the impact has been. So tell us just a little bit the magnitude of the impact and how it has affected the Mall of America.
The impact has been unimaginable. I mean, so many people have been impacted in different ways through the pandemic. We are truly at the intersection of industries that were first to close and last to open. And so it's been quite a challenge in the entertainment, retail, and hospitality industry, and travel as well, as we typically have about 40% of our guests are tourists. And so when that travel industry has severely been impacted, it has a direct impact on our visitor base. So unfortunately, our traffic has been significantly less than what we've seen prior to COVID. But what we're optimistic about is each and every month it gets stronger and better as we move forward. We had a decent holiday season, and even as we turn into the new year, we're seeing great results with traffic and just that consumer confidence feeling better as the vaccines are getting rolled out, and just the numbers are hitting a more positive direction. It's helping everyone, and we're seeing good traffic. So we're optimistic about the future.
Great. So Jill, I know you mentioned in the beginning, all the different things that you may have tried out in the last year or so, and that the management has been appreciative about, trying out new things and seeing what works. So can you take us a little bit through that journey? What were the things that you were trying out, let's say a few months ago? What may have worked? What perhaps may need some more improvement?
Absolutely. I mean, so many retailers were quickly shifting to accommodate consumer shifts in how they were shopping. When we were all in lockdown and at home and quarantined, we had to find new ways to get our goods and services. So people were going straight to curbside. They were shopping online, picking up in store, anything to minimize the personal contact, right? And so everybody was kind of duct taping things together and trying to quickly roll out solutions. But as we move forward, most retailers were fine tuning those efforts and how we are integrating that into other services. So instead of having standalone elements, it's really baking them together to make it as convenient as possible. And you have to realize it's very different from a shopping center versus a direct retailer. You know, when you have a retailer like Target or Walmart or even your grocery stores, they usually have one point of entry, which makes it easier for the consumer to know where to go, to be able to have that curbside or that pickup location. So it makes it logistically more sound versus a shopping center like Mall of America that has 27 different entrances, trying to navigate where they need to go in order to make that convenient drop off, pickup, whatever that might be. So we had a lot of different challenges than an individual retailer might have, but we also recognize that consumers don't care where they're going. They just want to make sure that they have that convenience. And with the benefit of Mall of America having hundreds of different brands to make it as convenient as possible, that they could have that one-stop shop for multiple items. And so, you know, I mentioned curbside. We did live stream shopping, which we will continue with. It's that buy online, pick up in store, and collaborating with all of our retailers for how we could streamline that. Having return systems to make it more unified so people could buy online and return their online items here. But really looking at how we could set up systems to collaborate with our tenants, because when you have every tenant having a different system, makes it challenging for the guests. So to your point, a lot of stuff started in 2020, and I'd say very few things fell off. Like, we are continuing to move forward with those and integrating them as simplified and as convenient as we can for our guests.
So people may not fully realize how all-encompassing Mall of America is, and that you have, of course, your retail shops, but you also have restaurants, hotels, and theaters. And if you think about, you know, those coupled with travel, and you said 40% of your customers, you know, travel to the mall from outside of the area. Those are four of the industries that have been affected the most. And it's not like the retail stores haven't been affected. So I'm wondering what it is that you've done to try and accommodate, adapt to this particular environment, given the circumstances.
Adapting is absolutely key. Every month, something, even every week, and as short as every day, like, things were changing all the time. And we would literally have, you know, on different paths, retail would be open, restaurants would be at 50%, attractions would be closed. And then a couple months, you know, a month later, then we would have attractions open at 25%. And then everything was constantly shifting. So we had to be extremely agile. And we've learned, you know, as much as we thought we were agile going into 2020, I think everybody learned that, man, I mean, the flexibility that we all needed to have. And the key thing was educating our customers, because as much as we were confused with everything going on, we had to make sure we could educate our customers on those changes, so to make it as convenient for them, so that they knew what to expect when they arrived. In addition to what you noted, I mean, we have over 500 retailers, 60 dining establishments. We have a 7-acre theme park in the middle of our property, Nickelodeon Universe.
I left the theme park.
Yes, that's a big one. And we actually own and operate that. And so learning to navigate all the changes in the attractions world has been unique, but yet we've learned a lot, because we collaborate not only with our market partners, but also the industry as a whole, nationally and internationally, to learn what other people are doing based on their timeline and what we can expect as we move forward, which has been very helpful. But what's been really challenging in Minnesota is right now there's a one-size-fits-all solution for attractions. And that specifically has been hard because we're so large in scale that we have the same restrictions as a bowling alley has. And so it's very hard to have that one size, because based on our size, the scale right now, we just shifted to, we had up to 25% up to 150 people. They just moved it this weekend to 250 people. But imagine 250 people in a 7-acre theme park. You have the place to yourself. So our capacity is 7,500 at a time. So those changes have been challenging, but to the point I made, it's all about education. And it's been a shift from a marketing perspective and messaging, because it's, you know, instead of having a lot of focus on seasonal campaigns, which we typically do, which we still have support towards, but there's been so much towards just educating the customer on our safety protocols, wearing masks, what to expect in the theme park. There's so many different elements that has been a huge shift for us from a messaging strategy standpoint.
So Jill, just continuing on this theme of messaging, and of course, clearly one aspect, very important aspect now is consumers and people who are coming to Mall of America, perhaps in state, out of state, whatever the case might be, they really want to know, what are the safety and all of those things, but how you message to them and perhaps what part of your overall budget was used for messaging versus something else. Did it shift over time? Perhaps digital channels became a lot more important. Is that the case as well?
Most definitely. We've focused on our social channels and any of our digital communication throughout the last 9 to 12 months. I mean, that's definitely been the most convenient channel for us to use because we can put it, when it's our owned channels, especially, we have complete control over those from a timing perspective and can turn it quickly. Also, from a paid perspective, we've definitely looked at those digital channels as a great connection point, just because we feel like most of our consumers are on digital devices. They're already there, they're shopping, it's convenient. You might as well hit them where they're already at. And again, it's making sure it's relevant for them in a timely manner. A lot of our communication has been on our website to make sure that we're trying to, really channel most of that communication and to make sure that the consumer knows that's where they should go to get the most relevant, up-to-date info. So really focusing on our own channels. We have a really strong social media following, and we've always used that as a guest service tool. So being able to communicate with our guests and them knowing that that's where they're going to find the information has been key and really important for this journey.
So it's got to be a huge challenge what it is that you've gone through, and my hat is off to you for all that you've gone through. One of the things that we've seen the biggest shift in is that consumers are buying online more and more. Mm-hmm. And that includes not just products, but also it includes restaurants and home, delivery or pickup. So much of the Mall of America is dependent on the experience of being there. Have you transformed and have done a lot more shopping online, delivery of food, or how have you adjusted to the digital consumer, not just in your media, but actually in product delivery?
Very important point, and we have embraced that transformation. We have to. We recognize the online shopping behaviors that were changing even before 2020 and how we needed to navigate that. And we even saw that strength in the retail brands that were here. We were finding a lot more online brands come to brick and mortar because that balance of having the physical and digital space was the key to success for retail. And so we saw that trend taking hold before 2020. And as we all had to shift and our shopping behaviors changed, we embrace that even more. And so as we launch different efforts this past year to accommodate the needs of what we're all going through, we embrace that and we're moving that forward and really integrating that into our overall e-commerce and social commerce strategies, knowing that we have to have that balance of both. But we also recognize that that in-person experience is like no other, cannot be replaced. But the strength and success comes when you can really find that convergence of the digital and physical space. So you're going to continue to see that. As I had mentioned earlier, we launched live stream shopping as a great example of how we're embracing that experience component. So it truly is mobile shopping with a host. It's a live stream shopping experience where you are engaged with a host real time. That host has a planned collection of goods that they are showcasing, and there's photos of everything that are on the app. We actually work with Pop Shops Live. So they're showcased on the app, so you can purchase anything that's showcased, or you can interact with the host and ask to see other items in the store. We can populate that in the cart and they can purchase that. And then, so you're still having that engagement, that personalization that Mall of America can deliver, but you can do it from the convenience of your own home. And the hope is that, when you're ready and you are comfortable coming into the physical space again, we'll be here for you. We're not going to, push it towards anybody that's not ready, but here's another channel that you can also be exposed to brands that you might not be aware of, and different products that, especially for the holidays, it was a lot of fun because it's fun for gift giving, very convenient, and you could have it shipped to your house, or you could use our curbside pickup. So you're still bringing people close to the door. And what we've learned from our retailers with the curbside pickup, and most specifically with Nordstrom, 80% of their shoppers that are either doing a buy online, pickup in store, or curbside, they are parking and they're also coming into the store. So that online shopping is helping them cross off their to-do list, but we're human. We want to be able to have that fun social engagement in the physical space. So the key is providing those tools to make it convenient, because they're ultimately going to transform into the physical shopping visits as well. And that's what we need to embrace together. And so from a shopping center perspective, we have to figure out those tools that will help our tenants and connect the experience so that guests see the value of doing it through a shopping center versus direct to the brand. Because when you can have a unified cart and make it super simple, which is not easy to do to do a unified cart with all the different POS systems, but we are dedicated to figuring it out. That's where the secret is in the sauce.
Oh, great point, Jill. I think I want to kind of go down the path which you just mentioned, which is looking at data and kind of understanding how to make decisions. Of course, perhaps the Mall of America was already, as you mentioned, thinking about, what are the digital channels with which we can go and interact with customers. And COVID has perhaps just accelerated it. But with more digital, you obviously get a lot more data. So take us through that journey. Have your decisions become a lot more data reliant? Have you been tracking kind of, what might be the forecast going forward? How do you do some tests and learns? Would be great to hear.
I'm always the one that will challenge data because I think there's art and science that always needs to come together when decisions are being made. I don't think it can be just your gut reaction, and I don't think it can just be data driven. I think there has to be a balance of both. So I'll always challenge our team on that if they go too far down the data road, because you're only able to capture so much. And we do look at a lot of data. We have Park Assist in our ramps that allows us to really track the traffic that's coming in. And it'll also help with the duration of time that people are in a property, which is interesting that the duration, the dwell time has actually decreased. But reasoning would be is we didn't have restaurants and attractions open the full time that we experienced 2020, which that's all about the duration of time at the mall, right? Because you're experiencing everything. So it was very much focused on just the shopping trip. So we definitely take a look at that through our parking data. We also look at a lot of Wi-Fi data through devices to really, and then we do a lot of cross referencing with our data points. So Wi-Fi, also a lot through our social media channels and through our web analytics, and really with some of the digital ads that we send out, we have some of the geofencing that we can do to see how much conversions we have from the ads that they see offsite to onsite. And then when you start pulling all these pieces together, that's when it's super interesting. And that's when we start finding those points of the aha moments of what if we did this. I did mention that we own and operate Nickelodeon Universe. We have all of the analytics that come with the park data. So whether it's the ticket sales, the duration of time, what they're riding, the age, things like that. So that's really helpful for us then to share that with our retailers, and we can do a lot of predictive analytics for our traffic trends. What's crazy is, we have decades of data that we would historically look at to predict the future experience. Now it's kind of like, okay, is that all out the door because now we're reset, which is interesting, where we would usually look year over year, we look month over month. Now it's like day over day because every day changes. But what's great to see as we head into our spring break timeframe, this is typically a great time of year for a lot of families to come travel to Mall of America from the drive market. So fingers are crossed that people have that pent up demand that they want to come and have fun. We already are seeing it now early in the year, and we're very hopeful that people are ready to come out and play and have a good time in a very safe environment. Our size is definitely a benefit to us right now because people can spread out and have plenty of space to be safe in our mall.
So Jill, I was really intrigued when you talked about one aspect of that, and I'm curious about it, is, you've got the data, but then also the retailers have that data and how you share that data. And some of those retailers are competitors of each other. You have Macy's and you have Nordstrom's, just as an example. How do you navigate that with who owns that data, the retailers or you, and who has that whole market basket of data, and trying to think about that?
Yes, so to clarify, we're not sharing data from retailer to retailer. We're obviously sharing aggregated data from a property perspective with all of our retailers so that they can plan accordingly for, whether it's planning for their labor, planning for sales patterns, things like that. Some of the retailers are then reciprocating and sharing back with us so that we can aggregate that information and get at least high level or category specific data. And so we're very cautious and very, very careful with all that information because we know that that's not something that you can mess around with. And we have a lot of trust with our retailers, and it's just to help all of us move forward together. And so we're very, very private and confidential with that information, but obviously taking those nuggets that will help us all with the general data that the property does take.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
So Jill, as we are coming towards the end of the interview, we would love to hear your thoughts. What would be your advice? You've gone through a year of lot of planning, lots of different kinds of initiatives, lots of learning. I would love to hear, what would be your piece of advice to perhaps not just other kind of, mall owners, but in general, having gone through this last year, what should people be thinking about as they plan forward?
I think a lot of it is about decision making to do the right thing. There were a lot of things that we did throughout this past year that didn't necessarily have a business objective or a revenue objective towards it. It was doing the right thing at a time when the community needed it. We are very community focused, and I do want to highlight some of the things that we did in the outreach of not only the impacts of COVID, but also the community unrest. We, did experience a lot here in Minnesota and Minneapolis specifically last spring. And so there's a lot of kind of tense behavior that's been happening here in our marketplace. And so we quickly stepped in. We helped retailers rebuild. We gave them space at Mall of America, small independent owners that needed to rebuild. And so we gave them space for 6 months to do that. And what's great is we're on phase 2 of that. And a lot of those retailers are going onto their own independent space here at Mall of America, just because we gave them that extra support. We helped a school that was destroyed to be able to operate for this past school year, the Minnesota Transitions Charter School. And we're going to look at a longer term plan for a virtual school here for years to come. We helped multiple charities and nonprofits. We set up food banks, blood banks, anything that we could do to just leverage our property. Even when we were closed, we had blood donations happening inside the mall. It's just doing what's right, because that's going to carry through and have loyalty with the community. And it's just really important to put other things aside and make decisions based on doing good. So I think that's really important. I also think that looking forward long term is really important during a pandemic or any crisis situation. If you're too much in a short term decision making and strategy perspective, you lose sight of what's possible and you really get caught up in the stress of the moment. So I think it's been really helpful for us to not only instill confidence and positivity within our team about looking forward and knowing that we're all going to get through this. It's just, this is a bump in the road that we're all dealing with. So that long-term approach and really forward thinking has been helpful and healthy for our team. And I also think collaboration has been extremely important. Not only the communication with collaboration, that communication frequency of that has been very important for all of our stakeholders, but collaboration internal in the company, but also in the marketplace and across the industry. I mentioned that from an attraction side of things, but also retailers. We've been collaborating with other shopping centers locally and nationally. And typically, you don't really share a lot of that information with your competitors, but at this point in time, we need to do this together. We need to make sure that shopping center industry still stays afloat, and that we work together on best practices and how we can strengthen the industry together. And so I think those are key areas as a leader and what we've learned over the past year that have been really important for us to move forward.
And Jill, these have been turbulent times and you have navigated them very, very well. So thank you for sharing that with us. We really appreciate the time. And I like the idea of looking forward, not just to tomorrow, but even further out and to the day when we get past this and get back to, I won't say normal, but get back to whatever the new normal is it's going to be. So good luck with that. And thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Jill.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.